Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Michael's muted.
Yeah, Michael, we can't hear you, so we're going to move on. We'll go to Gavin Casey. From Gavin Casey, we go to Rian Nocta. From Rian Nocta, we'll go to Carl Fabian, and then come back to you, Michael.
Hey, Marcell, Gavin Casey here in Ireland. How are you doing?
Yes, man. How are you, man? No, awesome, man.
Great. You'll be back in familiar territory, at least when you're taking on Leinster once again. I was going to ask Billy, because he was so integral to it in the semi-final last year, your ability to exploit the backfield, and it is the way to beat the blitz. You guys were probably the most potent at doing that, aside from Toulouse in the Champions Cup final. To what extent do you guys feel as though that will be replicable, in Croke Park this weekend? Do you guys feel well prepped to actually exploit the few chinks in Jack Nienaber's defence?
Yeah, I think with Billy there, he brings a lot of experience. He worked with Jock a lot, so we kind of understand what to expect from the defensive line. But I think that's one area of the game, but there's a lot of areas we identified we can exploit for this weekend. And without oversharing, but it's going to come down to work rate. It's going to come down to being composed, making the right decisions at the right time, and just handling the kicking game as well. So no, there's a lot of things that we identified.
And Billy spoke as well, as has Jake White, about how you guys are playing for Cornell, obviously, and that's been an ongoing theme of yours throughout the season. Jake also mentioned that he put it to you guys months ago: if you want to win this competition, chances are you're going to have to beat Leinster in a final in Dublin. That's realistically how the log is going to turn out. Would it be fair to say that either on a subconscious level or consciously, you guys have actually been preparing for this game, while also focusing on the games in front of you, of course, but, backs of your minds, preparing for this meeting, ultimately, this ultimate showdown on Saturday?
No, well, if you take Leinster, they're a championship side, so they'll always be in the running and in the playoffs, and they've always in the top of the log, and you have to respect that from the team. It's a well-willed machine, and they back their systems and their structures. But look, that was the saying from Coach Jake early in the season. But playoffs, anything could have happened, and just so happened now that the first team gets to host the final and the second team gets to play in the final. So I think, look, it's all excitement, it's all enjoyment, and we've played each other a couple of times in the seasons followed to this, and we know each other very well, and I think that's just going to make the contest more excitable this weekend.
Brilliant. Go well, Marcell. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Marcell. How's things? I just wanted to ask you, obviously, in recent years, there's been this rivalry across international and between clubs between Ireland and South Africa. Obviously, last week, the Sharks and Munster, and you've got the recent internationals, and obviously your battles with Leinster. And now you're going into a final where Leinster haven't won in 4 years, and you're looking for that elusive win. Do you think all these ingredients are building up to a massive final? And what are your thoughts on that the last few years between South Africa and Ireland?
Yeah, no, I think it all builds up to the desperation from both sides for this weekend, so you can expect a massive clash and a lot of energy and a lot of intensity, you know what I'm saying? But well, look, if you take the two sides of the two countries that participates in the URC, it was always, I think it was Stormers against Munster in the final, and we always had to play Leinster in the semi-finals, So, no, look, I think both countries' teams, representatives are phenomenal when it comes to playoffs. And, last season, Glasgow, also, we played them in the final and then came short there. But, look, it's so unpredictable, this format, last season, the teams that ended up first and second didn't end up winning the competition, So it's very unpredictable at stages. And it just shows you the quality of the URC from all the teams, and particularly the South African teams and the Irish teams. We had some good battles, building up to this, and semis and finals. And I expect this weekend won't be any different.
Yeah, and obviously in knockout rugby, a big thing is discipline. You see a lot of games are decided, and a lot of momentum is swung on discipline. Obviously, you can work on attack and defense, but how is discipline something you can just talk about, or can you work on your discipline throughout the week or throughout the season?
No, definitely no. I think it's something we addressed as a squad. It just makes things harder for you, and playing against a a quality side like Leinster, you can't afford to have one guy in the bin or two guys in the bin. You need all the feet on the pitch, and it's going to take a work rate to stop their onslaught. So no, you don't want to let the guy next to you down by being reckless and stuff. So yeah, that and soft moments we need to cut out in our game, and just keep building on our DNA that's been working for us this whole season.
Thanks, Marcell. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Marcell, thanks for the opportunity. It seems like you guys are hiding away from, if I may call it, Willie said everybody mistakes this opportunity. You're talking about box kicks and everything, but none of you spoke about the physical side of the game, while the Ireland players named the physical side as a determining factor. How do you feel about that?
No, well, look, it's always going to be physical when it comes to playoff stages and finals, so can't hide the fact about that. But a lot of the things that's one aspect of the game, but there's a lot of factors that also contribute to whether you're getting the result or not, whether the set piece is strong, whether the game management is on par, the kicking game, so there's a lot of things that goes into playoff spots. And like I mentioned, using your opportunities and not relying on soft moments to let the opposition out. So it's all about managing the controllables, the stuff sometimes in rugby, there's uncontrollables, but it's the ability to adapt after that, that makes a difference.
And if it's going to be a physical game, obviously it's going to be a very close game. Do you think the Bulls are equipped to handle the narrow 1 or 2 point matches?
Yeah, I think the one thing about this team this season is the maturity and the growth that went to that, and that came with a couple of seasons. You take our captain Ruan, when I first arrived, he was probably 22, and now he's close to 27. He's matured, he's played Bok Test, so the growth and the experience that came along with it, not just him, other players as well on the park, and all days like Willie and Johan Goosen and stuff, it's just a good balance between experience and youth. And I think, the leadership really grown the more we got put into high pressurized games, and I think we could have seen that on the previous tour, how we matured in our performances. So no, look, we'll rely on that and just contribute where you can. Thank you.
Michael Glennon.
Okay,
cool. Let's just check.
Sorry, Lunga, we can't hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, I was checking if Ash would like to field a question.
Yes, I'm here, Lunga.
Okay,
I'm here,
please
Lunga.
go for it, Ashfaq.
Okay, thanks. Marcell, how's it, man? Yeah, breakdowns will obviously be a major issue, but in terms of the last two finals that the Bulls, I mean, in 2022, I think against the Stormers, Jake felt you guys didn't really fire a shot on attack. Last season, you guys were actually 13-0 up and had the game sort of, well, some fans would have felt you had it already in the first half and then let it slip a bit. What are the main lessons from those two games that you can say that the Bulls have really learned that you can apply this weekend?
Yeah, I think if I take that first final, I think we scored off the bat probably like 3-4 minutes in the game, so we had a good start in the game and we were going well that first half, but it just showed you can't rely on those moments. You have to continue it forward, and I thought we just might have missed the kicking game in that second half particularly, and that's how we let the Stormers in that day, and they used the opportunities. We had a man down in the bin as well, but and then the second game, again, great start, and we build on that, but you can't let the opposition in, because and that's what I meant by soft moments. You can't let them really in and then let them get the ascendancy and build momentum, So look, it's going to come down to moments and how we manage it and how calm, collective, and control we are. And it's all about managing that, and that comes with experience. And I think over the course of the seasons, that's really been very, very beneficial for our team.
And just finally, Marcell, Leinster play with this really quick tempo game. They try and set you out wide, even very early on. They're not scared to have a go. How do you manage that defensively? Because obviously you also want to play with tempo, but you also don't want to be caught up in their style of play. You want to play your way. I know your scrum is a big part of your game as well. You just mentioned kicking game now. So you want to mix it up instead of just going helter-skelter, and that could actually play into Leinster's hands.
Yeah, well, that's the uniqueness about the Leinster team. When they get it right on the day, they can really light it up, and that's part of our jobs. We need to nullify it as best as possible by certain things we identified. And no, look, I think playoffs, there's a time and a place for everything, sorry. And then it's all about playing in the right areas. And there'll be times where we want to make the game quick and controlled and tempo, but there's also times to settle it and see where we can go from here. So it's all about just being composed and having good management on the day.
Thank you.
Hi, Marcell. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, no stress.
Very good. I'm sure I can hear you. Just tell me, the Springboks played in Croke Park in 2009. You were hardly a fan following the Springboks in Dublin back then, were you?
Yeah, I think I was in my last year at school. Yeah, so.
And what have you heard about Croke Park? What have you heard about Croke Park? What did you know from your time here? And maybe that it maybe will lift an Irish team to play a final in such a historic venue.
No, well, I think from what I've heard from the guys being around here, also it's a very special place, and it's it's got it's got a great atmosphere when the crowds attend, and it's a special event, So we talk about a special final, what a special event to play in, So no, we at the Bulls are really looking forward to the challenge. Obviously the challenge is already big, but to be set up with such a great venue, the better, So.
Thank you, Marcell. You can let Aka jump onto the chair.
Okay, sure. Well, thanks, guys.